Hey there everybody, this is 100 Visions Guide. We're going to start a new tutorial on App Inventor. And App Inventor is easy to find, it's web-based, and it allows you to make Android apps and soon to be iPhone, iOS apps as well. They're in beta testing, I hear, from what I understand. To get here, it's real easy. You just Google App Inventor or search for it. It'll take you to this site. If you want to start creating apps, you can go ahead and create it. If you scroll down a little bit, you'll see tutorials. So you're welcome to go look for a tutorial and follow along. What I'm going to do is I've come up with an idea that was kind of based on a student's idea. And it's a way of tracking fitness. And so let me just show you a sample of kind of what we're going to be heading towards so you can see. I thought I'd take a picture of this, and I'm starting over. And I'm going to call it the Training Sensei. And it will help you track progress in your workouts. Anything that has distance and time that would allow you to sort of track your progress, whether that's cycling or running or even hiking or walking, whatever that may be. It'll allow you to grab information about a workout and store it in a database on the app. And then when you get your stats, you can see some information about your progress and some of that. And so we're going to work with a multi-screen app, and it's using App Inventor. So let's get going on this particular app. And first thing you're going to want to do is click Create App. Right away it should take me to my project over here. I've already, oh, wrong one. That's my other class. One moment, please. There it is, Training Sensei. Now I've already created the project and named it, so you would have to do that. And if you look over on the left, you have the palette. These are all the components that go into making your app. And we're going to go into those as we do it. We're going to do sort of a just-in-time learning. We have our viewer here, allows us to see what it's going to look like. We can get a list of our components that will allow us to name them and do some adjustments. And then properties window is going to be really important. And any item you have, any component that's part of your app, you can set the properties based on what it happens to be. First things first, screen one. I didn't find any way of actually renaming this, but I think in each of our components we should give good names to help identify what they are, especially if it's anything that we're going to program or could be programmable. And notice if you try to click rename, it doesn't let you do it. All right, enough about that. App name, I called it Training Sensei. I'm going to put a little space there. I'm going to click, and if you scroll up, you can see it right there. Of course, we should have like a bigger title, and so we're going to add that. Before we do that, my recommendation is I like to use the horizontal and vertical layouts. So I'm going to start by a vertical layout. It's going to hold everything in it. So I'm just going to drop it in. So all you have to do is just sort of drag and drop. And you'll notice under screen one, you'll see vertical arrangement one. I'm also not going to name the vertical arrangements or the horizontal arrangements. I could, but honestly, it's not anything you're going to see. It's just there to lay out the elements on the screen. And you need some way of displaying it in positioning items. I prefer the horizontal and vertical, but you could use a table arrangement. It's kind of like a table that you might insert into a document or something like that. So the first thing you want to do once you drop something in is determine the width and the height. This is something you do need to set. If you do it automatically, it'll just be as wide or as tall as it thinks it needs to be. If you add more content, it gets wider, and so. I like to, so-and-so? Okay. I'm going to go ahead and set height to fill parent. The parent is the entire screen. So now this is the entire height of the screen. And let's set the width to be fill parent as well. And so now it's as wide as the screen, minus that green gap there, which is some kind of margin. Don't know what that's about, but there's nothing we can do to change it, so we move on. All right, so first things first, once I have everything in here, I'm going to do an align horizontal as center. I want to center my items in the page. And paragraphs of text will be left-hand justified, but I like to put things sort of centered, and so you'll see what I mean. Now, all you have to do is just drag items onto the screen, and once you have an arrangement, in this case, vertical arrangement, you can just drop things one on top of the other. You can't put them side to side. If you want to do that, you're going to need a horizontal arrangement. We're going to go to user interface. Most of what we're going to be doing for a while is labels and buttons. And that's pretty much it, minus those layouts. First thing we're going to do is put a title label. And so since it's going to be a title, let's go ahead and name it. App Inventor will name everything, whatever it is, with a number. And that's a poor naming convention. And usually what a lot of Android developers will do will be what's called snake case. And I'm going to write title label. Actually, I think I called it welcome label in my class. I'm going to use the consistent naming here. Welcome label. Welcome underscore label. The last thing is always an underscore and whatever it happens to be, in this case a label. You'll see as I continue. All right, we need some text for it, but let's also style it. Let's make it bold. Let's make it nice and big. So let's try 20. And go ahead, and that looks good. Notice how it's centered, text for label. If we add more text, it'll be centered, but it'll be wider. So I'm going to go ahead on here and put welcome to the training sensei. By the way, don't judge me. It took me a while just to come up with that name, and it's more about what I'm doing and how I'm doing it than it is about what I'm naming it. However, good names are important. All right, they help people remember what your app is about, and they can be very handy. All right, so that's our welcome label. We're going to have a little info welcome or info label, and so I'm just going to drag another label out. Now, when I go to drag it, you notice where it's blue. Blue is there to indicate where it's going to go. So I want it under that welcome label, and I'm going to call this the info label. Actually, I might, yeah, we'll just do info label. You might have other types of info labels, in which case you might call it the home info label or whatever. We do not need it bold. 14-point font is probably good. Oh, by the way, you can change it to a sans serif, serif, or a monospace. Default, as you can see, is a sans serif, which means it is without serifs. There are no serifs. Let me go ahead and write a little intro. Okay, I typed out my full text. You didn't need to see me typing it. And first thing I want to show you is when you type it, if it's wider than the screen, look what it does. So we need to probably set the height and set the width. The first thing we're going to do is set the width to fill the parent, because if we didn't, what happened is it just made it as wide as it needed to be, which is wider than the screen. The other thing, though, is now my text is butted up to the side of the screen, and that's not a good design technique. So instead of fill parent, I'm going to set it to 90%. And see, it pulls it in together. Notice it's still left-hand aligned. We're also going to set the height. I don't know how high to set it. So usually it's a good idea to just click a number, click OK, see how it fits. Right now it fits on my text size, but I think maybe a little bit larger might be better. And that's going to be up to you. Still fits within what I'm doing, although I think I'll move it up to 10% just to be good there. And by the way, percentages. You should know about this. These percentages are percentages of the entire screen. So we've already reserved 10% for our info. Let's go ahead and preserve 10% for the welcome in our height. That means we now have 80% to work with. Keep that in mind whenever you're doing some of this stuff. Don't fear blank space. However, I think the text could go centered in that. So do we have a vertical alignment? No, we don't have a vertical alignment. So that is something worth noting. By default, it is set vertically to the top. What happens if I send it to the center? Right now, it's down pretty far. However, as I add more items, that will move up. Okay, so I'm going to leave it like this and keep going. All right, so we got our title, we've got our label, and now we're going to add our buttons, but they're going to be 2 buttons side by side and with a label underneath them. So now we have to go back to our layout. So I'm going to scroll down to the layout. I'm going to click on the layout, and now I'm going to do a horizontal arrangement. And now look what's happening. So I want to put it under the text. And right away you notice things bumped up a little bit. Okay, so we're going to set this to the same width, which is 90%, same width as our other item, 90%, there we go. And height. Okay, so now we're going to deal with a little bit of height here. I'm going to start with a 50% and just go big. Go big or go home, they say. And looks good to me at this point. I want two big buttons that work as buttons, and I'm going to use some icons for that. And so we've got our horizontal arrangement. Notice it's part of the vertical arrangement. It's actually one of the children of the vertical arrangement. It's arranged vertically under info label. Good thing to think about. All right, so we got it in place, and now inside of our horizontal arrangement, we're going to put another vertical arrangement. And you might be thinking maybe a table would have been a good thing. Probably not a bad idea. I'm sort of committed now, so I'm just going to keep working. And note, we already have a 90% width of the screen. So we're going to need to divide it in half. Half of 90 is 45. So what we're going to do is we're going to add two more vertical arrangements inside our horizontal arrangement. We're going to nest them inside. There's one, there's two. I'm going to click on the first one, and we're going to set the width to 45. Click OK. And we're going to click on the next one and set that width to 45. Click OK. All right, there we go. Now, we could set the height to be automatic. It's not a bad idea. Let's go ahead, or not automatic, we'll fill the parent. And we got to do the same thing for the other one. And height of fill parent. And then, so it's filling the parent, but what we may want to do is vertically align everything inside of it centered. So what we're saying here is each of these are going to line the items inside of it top to bottom centered. So, okay, so we got our arrangements all good to go. I'm going to click on the one above, and we're going to go back to the user interface, and we're going to drag a button to the top. Notice what's green and what border is green. You can see if I let go, it's part of that vertical arrangement. And then I'm going to add a label underneath it there. And you'll see why in a moment. Like I said, we're doing this just in time. And that's what I want to do. Make all this happen just when I need it to. Okay, we're going to give some names here. Okay, so vertical arrangement. Let's go ahead and center everything inside of there too, as far as a horizontal arrangement. And you see what's happening? If we set the horizontal or vertical, that's for its children. So I'm going to do this vertical arrangement. You can see how it's there. I'm going to do a center. Those are centered now. Okay. So let's go ahead and give our names. Now, a couple things we're going to do is we're going to insert some icons. And let me show you where I got the icons. I got them from a site called Font Awesome. So it's a great place to get free icons. And so you just go to fontawesome.com, and then I used edit. I searched for it under fonts. And if you scroll down, you'll see some of these are bold and dark. Those are free. The ones that are grayed out, you have to pay for the account. And I don't need to pay for an account. So what I did is I clicked on edit, for example, and I wanted this image. So I downloaded it as an SVG. So I click download it, and something for you to note is it says before you download, this icon is licensed under Creative Commons attribution. What that means is they want you to give appropriate credit. I'm an educator, and I try my best to be an honest person, and I try my best to do things the way people would like them done, and I want to encourage you to do the same. All we have to do is provide a link to the license. We're going to do that in our app. Okay, sound good? So what I did is I just right-clicked on it and I added it to the tab so I have my license available. All I have to do is go back to Font Awesome, try to download one again. And when you download it, you get these files here. And I just want to show you something really cool. Let's look at this chart line solid. Okay, so I'm going to click on here and I'm going to choose Show in Folder. Okay, so here it is right here. I'm going to right click on that and I'm going to do an open with, and I'm going to start with open with Chrome. That's our icon. Notice the path here. Now this is a scalable vector graphic, SVG. Check this out. I love SVGs because watch what we can do. We can right click and open with Notepad, or in my case, I'm going to use the Atom editor. But if you look for Notepad, it'll work in there as well. So I'm going to do it in the Atom editor, and you're going to see a bunch of code, but you're going to realize it's text. And I'm going to click View and Toggle Soft Wrap, and I'm going to close this little window. This is all the information needed to make that graphic. And one of the things that's kind of cool is it says Path Fill Current Color. Watch this. I'm going to do 336699. It's one of my favorite colors. Save my changes. I go back here and hit refresh. I can change the color of the icon. So you may want to do the same. I'm not going to worry about that right now, but I just wanted to show you that we can do that. All right, let's go back to our app. So what you're going to do is we're going to download a couple of these. First one you want to download is Edit. That's going to be and by the way, there's the full graphic in all of the, once you have a scalable vector graphic, if you have an editor, you can modify it. You can do things like play around with these little handles and stuff like that. I can't edit this right now because I'm not in edit mode, but you can do that. It's pretty cool. All right, that's Edit. And so download that one, and you can find other ones if you prefer. And then I did Chart. And then I did the line chart. I really like that one. That one's for getting stats. So, and of course it's got the line with the arrow, so it kind of suggests that this is over time. So I downloaded that one, and then I finally, it was on the edit actually. Then if you scroll down, you'll see there's also the user edit. So we're also going to add that little icon at the bottom of the screen for editing user information, like what's your preferred workout type, whatever. And we're not going to go too deep into that. I really want to just focus on the main functionality. We're going to do what's called a prototype. So we're just going to get it basically working. Here we go. We're back to our training sensei. All right, let's label everything. So this one, instead of button, I'm going to rename it. So I got to click rename. And this one is going to be, hold on a second, new entry button, new entry button. I want to make sure I'm consistent. I actually recorded this video, and it was perfect, except for audio didn't work. So I had my voice wasn't there, which could be a good thing, but it's kind of hard to learn if you don't have that. So it says new entry button, and I'm going to change the name, or the text. Oh, I got to change the name of the label. So we're going to give it the same beginning name, new entry, but we're going to add label. So we have a new label button, or a new entry button and a new entry label. And then, hold on a second. And now we're going to rename our button. So I would click rename, and it's I'm going to call it get underscore stats underscore button. And then I'm going to do the same thing for label, rename that to get stats label. Click OK. All right, we're getting really close. A couple more things. Remember the height of our horizontal arrangement is 50%. We're going to make our button about 30%. So we're going to click on button, and we're going to set the height to 30%. We'll see what that looks like. I want it to roughly be like a square tile. That's a little too much, so I'm going to change it to 25. Quarter of the screen. There we go. I'm going to get rid of the text. So there's no text. You can see it goes away. But now I'm going to add an image. Oh, width. Let's also, on our width, make that 45%. And I'm going to add image. So I already added these. But if you don't, once you download a file, you can just click upload and upload it into here. And this was the one I was going to use. I click OK, and there we go. So I have that edit button in there. And if I hover over it, you'll see it's going to behave like a button, but it will be sort of that edit file. You might want to set the background color. So I'm going to click on background color, choose custom, and do a shade of green I really like. Background color, apparently we can't see it. Looks like the image sort of covers that. So don't worry about it. I'm just going to do none. All right, let's go ahead and fix the next button, get stats, and we want to do the same thing. So we want to do a height of 25%, and then we want to make a width of 45%, and then we want to add the image of chart line solid. Click OK. And then we want to get rid of our text. And click anywhere. All right, so we got rid of our text, so now would be a good time to add the appropriate text for our labels. And you're probably going to want to set the width on your label also to 45%. That way it matches that icon. Maybe not. Maybe I will make it automatic, and we'll see. We might have to set it. All right, so we called that edit. What do we say? It's our new entry. So we'll just put add a new entry. Add a new entry. We'll click on the other label, and we'll call this get stats. All right, pretty cool, huh? All right, so we got most everything in place. The last thing I want to do is add one more item, which is going to be a button on the bottom right. It's going to be a lot smaller. So I'm just going to find our button, which is at the top, and drag it down to the very bottom. Hold on, I'm going to have to move it. Give me just a moment. There we go. Move it down here. Now on this one, we're going to just do a little edit stats, and I should have done another vertical arrangement. So let's get that in there. I don't know why I didn't think to do that. I'm going to have to move it down again, just like I did before. Okay. Click, drag it down. Okay. Let's just delete that and start over. I just want to be able to see the vertical arrangement and be able to drag it under all the items. I'll just put it just below that, above the text for the button. Might as well just delete the button. It's kind of a pain sometimes when you got to scroll up and down. You drag a button to the top, and we're going to drag a label under that. Okay, text for the button. So this is button. We're going to call this edit user button, and then edit user label. Okay, and our text for the button is going to be no text. The icon is going to be, gotta choose file, it's in my downloads, and so I'm just going to scroll down. User edit solid. Click open, click OK. And now I'm going to have to set the height and probably the width. So on the height, I'm going to try 10%. Perfect. And on the width, it's at 25%. It'll be centered. Perfect. And we're going to click on the text for label and configure your info. Bam. There we go. And let's take the vertical arrangement here and center everything horizontally. There you go. Configure your info. Bam. All right, we've got our user interface. It is good to go. In my next tutorial, I'll show you how to start programming this to go from click a button, it will take you to a screen, and then we'll deal with all the other stuff we're going to do on there. So